If you ask someone what the best finisher is, there will be many answers depending on the player. However, if you ask a bunch of competitive leaning players on what they think the best finisher is, most of the time they will mention one specific one. Divine Resurrection, the finisher belonging to Medkit. Despite its many nerfs and almost very few buffs, it has kept its place as being a major finisher people talk about. Divine Resurrection, especially in competitive players, has been seen as the best finisher in the game for a long time, which isn't a bad thing, but it's also seen as possibly the most upsetting or unfair finisher. Most of the reception behind it is rather negative on this side, and even with casual players, it's seen negatively to an extent, albeit some others like Leg Day and Eviscerating Ray are seen much worse. In this video, I asked many pro players what they think of Divine Resurrection, primarily in a competitive context. Yes, I am sorry to all the casual players watching, but don't worry, this will be interesting. Divine Resurrection is Medkit's finisher, requiring 150 finisher points to use, which is the highest in the game, tied with other finishers like Banhammer's Judgment and Hyperlaser's Eviscerating Ray. On cast, Medkit launches a big crystal which takes 2 seconds to hit the ground. When the crystal hits the ground, any teammates in a 125 stud radius gets healed 125 HP, but dead allies in the range get healed back to life with 50% of their max HP. On top of this, Medkit heals 150 HP to himself along with an extra 50 HP per ally he revives with the finisher. However, there's actually more to this finisher than meets the eye. When an ally is resurrected, they gain full immunity for 1.5 seconds after the revive. This means they can't take damage during this time. Allies will also get shield if it is a part of their 50% in bulk like Biograft. Additionally, people who get revived after falling off the map get revived in spawn, and if any of your teammates exceed the 50% healing in their health, then 50% of the excess healing becomes shield. And of course, if Medkit dies before the finisher procs, it gets cancelled entirely. This finisher sounds like a lot, and it kinda does a lot too. It's the finisher that scales much higher with better teammates usually, which is why it's actually a crazy finisher in scrims. Sometimes it can be used to hold down a point to conquer much longer in order to mount potential comebacks, or prepare a far easier rush to try and hold it down. Exhibit A, Stardust vs A-Gang.
Let's go! And it is overtime.
Stardust is in the lead.
With a counter, A-Gang sitting on hold the Sybil and middle.
It's one.
Still has it.
Down the final standing.
Down. For A-Gang, they could take another round.
3, 2, 1.
Oh my god.
And yeah, A-Gang ends up pulling the point to the very end to win the game. And while it could just help to hold down a conquer point, how about deciding an entire match because of its use? Exhibit B, Old Block Warriors vs Stardust.
Katana as Soul Splicer is going to get used at there. No, but he does get a relatively... No, he does. He hits absolutely no one with counter and blind. Here comes the Resurrection and a Leg Day. Here comes the Soul Splicer. Here comes literally every ult from Old Block. Here comes the Judgment. And Old Block wins with no overtime.
So yeah, it is no wonder why this finisher has garnered such a negative reputation for its entire lifespan, as a full revive can seem ludicrous. However, in a way, I do think it is balanced, as people have been able to adapt game plans consisting of shutting down Divine Resurrection. This may seem very unhealthy as a strategy, but there are methods by using the timer to see when Medkit will use it, or by simply getting them down as soon as they use it. For example, A-Gang vs Star Splitters.
Is here. Wait, another one! Guys, we're metal! They're gonna get shut down!
It's canceled!
Overdrive though! Might be able to save the A-Gang here. Bio's low. A-Gang has point.
He's
2, 1,
got XP.
and A-Gang takes game 1 on S-Buff, getting 1-0 on the board.
This has commonly been the way to counterplay it, and while it does show how game altering the finisher can be, the counterplay isn't necessarily hard to do, and even then, maybe the Divine Resurrection just doesn't really cause a game win, but that's a rare instance. But again, it is debatable if this type of counterplay is even healthy for a finisher like this. Then again, in casual settings, it isn't that broken, so I don't really mind that, but again, this is focusing on competitive. Oh, and also because I forgot to mention it, this finisher is still great on Annihilate, but reviving teammates with it can be dangerous, as that can net extra kills for the enemy team, but it's still solid. So in my eyes, I do think it's an oddly balanced finisher that I still think it's a top 3 finisher in the game, but I decided to ask competitive players their thoughts on it. Specifically 118 of them. And the responses I got were very interesting. I first asked all my respondents to rate Medkit ult on a scale of 1 to 10 competitively, with 1 meaning bad and 10 being very overpowered, where the average score rested at 8.22. Most of the respondents rated the ult an 8, while another good portion also rated it a 9 and even a 10, with a few outliers actually rating it a 7 and even lower. A lot of the responses point out this ult is incredibly game altering, hard to really see it coming at times, a full revive being ludicrous in some cases, or just being a decider of games in general due to its sheer presence and possibilities of being used. In other words, the majority of players think it's incredibly overpowered, or just one of the best ults that feels like it has substantial counterplay. Some people did even mention how the revive could be detrimental on Annihilate specifically, and how a Medkit's own skill plays a huge role in how great a medal can be, which in most cases I can agree with. Considering how great Medkits are getting in competitive, the number of insane medals seem to be rising more and more, so it's kinda sick to see this. Other than that, there's also comparisons to Vine Staff because it's Vine Staff. After that chaotic question of thoughts, I asked people if Divine Resurrection was too OP, too underpowered, or actually balanced, where these results surprised me a ton. Only 3.4% of people thought it was underpowered, which is to be expected, but a whopping 52.5% of people thought Medkit's finisher was actually in a very balanced spot, while the other 44.1% thought it was overtuned, which was a weird shock to see people actually be this conflicted over it. It really made me realize that maybe people see Divine Resurrection as broken, mostly due to its overbearing negative reception maybe, but the fact the split is surprisingly close is what really intrigued me since I expected an overwhelming amount of people to think it's too broken. I then asked people if they had any rework ideas if they were in charge of maybe nerfing or buffing the finisher. While I do have a feeling it might be reworked right now or maybe even in the near future, I did ask people for their ideas. Some suggested general nerfs like a range nerf or even a revive cap, which is, interesting. Some people also even suggested nerfing the heal amounts in exchange for giving buffs to alive teammates, which is an interesting idea, but at the same time it seems very awkward to put onto Medkit of all people. Some of the balancing ideas and rework ideas just feel very out of place or may seem unnecessary outside of maybe removing the overshield mechanic. I mean, I don't have ideas for a rework either because I personally don't feel the finisher is overbearingly broken, and hell, it's not even close to broken when you put the perspective that the balancing is more around the casual side of things, which in that case I think is perfectly fine. I obviously didn't focus on the casual side of things, since I could put focus on that side in a finisher ranking video, and also due to the fact it's way less interesting to talk about. So overall, what is the purpose of this video? It's to show how vastly different uses finishers could be in competitive, as a seemingly balanced one turns into an absolute stomper in this new environment. Whatever happens to this finisher, I am very interested to see what happens to it, as it is such a huge part of Medkit's kit, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, that's all I got to really say. This video might be shorter or longer, depending on how it might feel, but yeah, thank you for watching, and have a good day. Or night. I don't know when you're watching this.